What would a Mahoraga totality look like? I know I've wondered about this for a while, and well, let's just say enough to want to make a video discussing if it's even possible. I'm Dice, and today let's try to theorize how totality works and what are some of the possibilities. It's no secret that 10 Shadows is one of the most esteemed curse techniques in all of Jujutsu Kaisen, along with Dismantle and Cleave and Limitless, probably the most explored too. To be honest, it's been stated enough how we have yet to see the potential in the 10 Shadows technique fully realized. But it's true. Sure, Sukuna showed off some pretty creative applications and did things with it that we had never seen before. But we can only really compare him to a 15-year-old boy with a serious tendency of wanting to off himself. So that's that, and we didn't really learn that much more about the CT either. So, while yeah, Sukuna's ability to use the powers of the shikigamis himself was pretty cool, what was really most impressive about his use of the 10 Shadows had almost everything to do with Mahoraga and the wheel. Now, I'm not arguing Sukuna's a fraud either. I won't indulge. My point is that Sukuna's infatuation was pretty clearly mainly with Mahoraga's potential, as proven in Shibuya and in the Gojo fight. And I don't blame him. It's the ultimate win con. And that's exactly why, while looking at a bit of what we know of the 10 Shadows as a whole, let's try to imagine what a Mahoraga totality would look like, if it's even possible. So, what exactly is a totality and how does the concept work? Well, first off, it's not 100% clear, but we have enough through clues and exposition to have a decent idea. Divine Dog Totality served as our first and clearest example, followed by a rough explanation of how it differs from manually merging shikigamis like the Well's Unknown Abyss. We were explicitly told that there are separate rules for when shikigami inherit other shikigami, but we still haven't been told what those rules are. So then came along Sukuna and pretty much did whatever the hell he wanted when you look at his version of Nue and then merged beast Agito. When introduced to Divine Dog Totality, we learned that shikigamis that are killed cannot be manifested again, but that instead their energy is passed on to other shikigami. The other example we kinda have of this is Great Serpent Orochi, who was killed by Sukuna early on. However, during the time spent with Megumi afterwards, we never see to which shikigami it was passed on to. I mean, Megumi uses Nue, Max Elephant, Divine Dog Totality, and Rabbit Escape with no signs of them inheriting Orochi. Not until Sukuna, of course, hijacks Megumi's body and summons his version of Nue. This Nue has inherited Orochi, confirmed by the marking on its head. The only reason why it was debatable a while back is because, like I just said, Megumi's Nue never changed after Orochi's death, and Sukuna never said totality when summoning it. But yeah, that guy does what he wants, remember? I have thought as well that maybe creating a totality is something that a 10 Shadows user has to do himself. The only reason why it's not the case with the Divine Dogs is maybe because they're one shikigami, so the inheritance is automatic and kind of serves as the jumping off point for the 10 Shadows user to understand how totality works. Megumi always had a close relationship with his shikigami, so maybe that's why he wouldn't want to alter any of them unless he has to, since he's always treated them more like pets and less like creatures for battle. Or maybe it's just another thing he just didn't know how to do yet. But how does Mahoraga fit into this? Well, Mahoraga's the one shikigami that has pretty much remained the same for the most part after being tamed by Sukuna. You'd think if he was able to manifest Nue Totality into merged beast Agito, then he'd surely have Mahoraga inherit the other shikigami if it could, right? I'm not so sure. Agito used Nue as a base and had inherited the energy of the deceased Orochi, Round Deer, and Morning Tiger. And now that it's dead, then technically its energy could be inherited by another of the remaining shikigami if the rules allow it. I mean, which shikigami are still alive now anyway? Well, Gamma Toad, Piercing Ox, Divine Dog, Rabbits, and Max Elephant are all likely still to be around based on what we know, which isn't much, granted, because Sukuna really could have just killed all but Nue and another shikigami, and we have just yet to see the other merged beast. It's not really far-fetched, and if that's the case, would that merged beast now inherit Agito? And if that is destroyed and Mahoraga was alive, would it then ultimately inherit all other shikigami? Okay, we're gonna need some answers soon. Meanwhile, on to the crackpot theories. I do think we'll probably see another merged beast. It's really about whether it consists of just the remaining shikigami that weren't in Agito or all of them. Maybe even Mahoraga, but more on that later. I am inclined to believe that a Mahoraga totality could be possible if it's still alive, which in itself is not a given, but if it happens, it would probably not be what everyone expects. This is where things get really interesting. It's no secret that there are multiple traits of the 8-handled, sword-divergent, Scylla Divine General Mahoraga that separate him from the other shikigami. And yeah, his full name is very much relevant to a theory I'll be talking about soon, so stay with me. Mahoraga is the one humanoid-looking shikigami with robes on, a summoning hand sign that is entirely different than the shadow puppets used for the other shikigami, and even a manifestation more akin to unwrapping a mummy than summoning a shadow. It might be safe to assume that there are even more differences that we don't know of yet. If you noticed, I haven't really mentioned it as a remaining shikigami because, as far as we know, it isn't. I'm really running with the assumption that Mahoraga was in fact killed by Gojo. But I wouldn't count out a Mahoraga return, as I believe there's still a lot left to learn regarding the 10 Shadows. There might not be a lot to back up this next theory, but I believe that Mahoraga could return in Megumi's domain. In fact, I think through a completed Chimera Shadow Garden, Megumi will be able to resurrect and manifest all of his shikigami, including Mahoraga, regardless whether they're dead or alive, as I just think it makes too much sense. On another note, I believe there's a good chance that Mahoraga was previously a Zenin clan head, very likely Taira no Masakado, one of the 3 vengeful cursed spirits and ancient ancestor of the Zenin. The reason I bring this up is because there could be some serious implications if this is true. I'm by no means a history expert, but it is known that Taira no Masakado led a whole rebellion which would go in line with Mahoraga's title of general, and how other shikigami like divine dogs and gamma toads made way during its first manifestation. Once again, not much to back this up, but I wanted to use this as more of a stepping stone to explain that I don't think a Mahoraga totality would inherit all other shikigami, but rather it would inherit the burden of commanding the shikigami under most likely Megumi's orders, allowing Megumi to fight with even more freedom in his domain, entrusting a lot more to Mahoraga, who could also still go on the offensive. Megumi would always be able to command his shikigami at will. This would just allow him to be so much more efficient. This might be a bit underwhelming for some, but I just can't see a creature that has the sword of extermination and can already adapt to everything inheriting a bunch of other abilities that would then just become redundant in a lot of ways when you think about it. And from a writing standpoint, I think there's a lot more that can be done creatively when adding to the lore of the vengeful cursed spirits as well as the 10 Shadows. If Mahoraga can be brought back inside Chimera Shadow Garden, along with all other shikigami, possibly resulting in a unique totality, it could be part of the domain's yet-to-be-seen sure-hit effect. I'm totally just yapping here, but imagine a Chimera Shadow Garden with a guaranteed hit consisting of attacks and effects of 9 other shikigami as Mahoraga and the 10 Shadows user are able to attack and operate freely inside the domain. That would be pretty crazy if you ask me. Chances we actually see that, though, are probably slim, but one can dream, right? Another way we could see Mahoraga as part of a totality wouldn't really be using the Divine General himself as a base, but rather another shikigami instead. I'd say Divine Dog Totality. This hypothetical shikigami would be like the merged beast I mentioned earlier. If Divine Dog Totality can inherit Gamma Toad, Rabbit Escape, Piercing Ox, Max Elephant, Agito, and Mahoraga, then that could possibly be the most broken shikigami in JJK history. With the claws and fangs of Divine Dog Totality, Toad's ability to retrieve objects with his tongue, Rabbit's ability to disperse and provide means for escape, Piercing Ox's charged up blitz attack, and Max Elephant's high water pressure beam, along with maybe all of Agito's abilities and Mahoraga's wheel of adaptability over its head, this abomination would be on a whole nother level than anything we've ever seen. Could this possibly be a shikigami we see later on inspired by the Gashadokuro? And could this final ultimate shikigami have something to do with what is seen behind Megumi the last time he opened his domain? It's tough to say right now, but one thing remains clear. There is still so much to learn and hopefully see of the 10 Shadows. Like I said, I don't think even Sukuna truly grasped its full potential. And keep in mind, the specific rules of how the shikigami are inherited have yet to be explained. Regardless if Mahoraga is dead, I don't think we've seen the last of the wheel or the other shadows. And I got a feeling something big is in store. Whether that's a Mahoraga totality or the ultimate merged beast, I think it's safe to say that Gege has all the options to go absolutely crazy with how he set this all up so far. But what do you think will happen next with the 10 Shadows? Do you think we've seen the last of Mahoraga? Do you think we'll see another totality? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you've reached the end of the video, you're a real one. I really appreciate the support. Stay tuned for additional JJK content and more. I'm Dice, much love and take care. Peace.